we have the reed family. These are quite easy to spot because they tend to be called after woodwind or brass instruments. Here we have the trumpet on the grate, which you can imagine what it's going to sound like. On the choir we have a clarinet, a very gentle stop. Again, lovely for solo lines. On the swell, we're spoiled for choice with 3 reed stops. One of them, the cornopian, is called after an old-fashioned brass instrument, and it sounds, again, very like a trumpet. So if we wanted to have a dialogue between 2 trumpets, a louder one and a softer one, we could use the trumpet on the grate and the cornopian on the swell. On the swell we also have the oboe, which is both useful in combination with other stops, as we'll see, and also as a solo line in itself. And finally on the swell we have the contraffugato. This is a stop that sounds like a bassoon, hence fugato meaning bassoon. Now there are some stops here that I haven't mentioned yet. They do fit into those families, but they have special roles, special purposes. First of all, we have the pedal division. So I've talked already about the 3 manuals. We have the swell, which is so called because it's enclosed in a box which can mimic the effect of crescendo and diminuendo if we use the swell pedal to open and close its shutters, like this. We have the grate, which is so called because it contains the loudest stops. And we have the choir, which is not actually called after the choir as in the singing choir. It's a corruption of the word chair. It comes from the time in which the choir pipes were placed behind the organist's chair. You can see a couple of examples of these organs, which were very common in the 18th century, surviving in Trinity College, in the chapel and in the examination hall across the way. They have these chair organs, which are behind the organist's chair. I haven't yet mentioned the pedal stops. Here on this organ we have 3 pedal stops. Some small organs will have just 1 pedal stop, and some very large ones could have 10 pedal stops. Here we have 3, and they all fit into families of stops we've already encountered. They belong to the diapason and flute families, although again they have perhaps slightly misleading names. First of all, we have the open diapason 16-foot. But when you listen to this stop, it doesn't really sound like the open diapasons that we've heard on the manuals. It sounds something like this. It's a very low, rumbling sound, quite diffuse. That's because, unlike the open diapason stops on the manuals, this particular stop is constructed of wood. These are enormous pipes, very large and square, made of wood. And very often organists don't call this stop open diapason, they call it open wood, to reflect that it's the open diapason that's made of wood. We have the bourdon, also 16-foot pitch, so an octave lower than 8-foot pitch. That belongs to the flute family, and specifically it's the same type of flute as the stopped diapason pipe. Often stopped diapasons are called bourdons. Some organs you will find bourdons at 8-foot pitch on the manual, but on English organs usually the bourdon refers to the 16-foot pitch stopped diapason. It sounds like this. And the last pedal stop is a principal. And again, it belongs to the diapason family, diapasons and principals. Here it's at 8-foot pitch. This is also the stop in this particular organ that happens to be at the side of the case. So these pipes are right at the front of the organ, and as a result, they're very bright, very loud, very forthright. Very useful for solo melodies on the pedal.